Hello and welcome to today's Hindu newspaper analysis of the Delhi edition from the editorial section. India's role in a disordered world. New Delhi can play an important role in shaping a new, more democratic world order. Why it is important to us? Because India is one of the largest democratic country in the world. Okay, Western nations want to through Russia out of the G20. China has opposed them. India will be chair of the G20 from December 1st, 2020. Okay, 2022. The world is greatly disordered. What should India stand for? Okay, what should India stand for? Institutions of global governance have failed to unite the world. Summit after the summit has produced mostly for hot air in trying to resolve the global climate crisis. Vaccines were hoarded by rich countries in the COVID-19 pandemic. Poor countries starved. कमी रही. The World Trade Organization WTO. Okay, the World Trade Organization WTO was already in the intensive care unit before novel coronavirus pandemic, with rich and poor countries unable to agree on equitable rules. When COVID-19 froze global supply chains, the war in Ukraine, February 2022 has put the final nail, आखिरी कील in the coffin of the boundary-less global economy that seemed to be emerging, with the fall of the Berlin Wall and the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. Or you know, when USSR disintegrated into many countries in 1991. Undemocratic architecture. What is undemocratic architecture from here? Millions of civilians died in the Second World War, as you know. European cities were razed by carpet bombing. The war ended with 2 nuclear bombs to terrorize the Japanese government into submission, burning 2 Japanese cities and killing thousands of civilians. Never again the victors' board. New institutions for global governance were established. The United Nations and the General Agreement on Tariff and Trade, and the World Bank and International Monetary Fund to provide finance to build the economies of all countries to eliminate poverty. However, the victors retained their veto power within the United Nations Security Council to determine when force can use to keep the world in order and to prevent the proliferation of nuclear power outside their small circle, because they could not trust other countries to use it wisely. They also control the World Bank, International Monetary Fund and WTO. These are the 3 world organizations: World WTO, IMF, and World Bank. The United Nations General Assembly meets every year. Now 193 nations strong. It passes many resolutions to address global problems. As you know, hunger, poverty, women rights, terrorism, climate change, etc. However, might is right. जबकि सत्य ही अधिकार है. Member of the Security Council retain. Might is right. Members of the Security Council retain their right to deny the democratic bill of the Assembly when it does not suit them. Global governance is not democratic. Global governance is not democratic. If the leader of any member country overrules resolution of its our parliament, he would be branded an undemocratic dictator. Armed interventions and sanctions imposed on countries authorized by the Security Council to restore democracy in the other countries make a mockery of global democracy. The United States, the United Kingdom, France, Italy, Japan, West Germany, Canada formed the G7. Second repeating, how many countries are in G7? United States of America is one. United Kingdom is 2, France is 3rd, Italy is 4, Japan is 5, West Germany is 6, and Canada is 7, also known as G7 in 1976, so that the non-communist powers could come together to discuss economic concerns which at that time included inflation and recession following the globalized organization of the petroleum exporting countries, also known as OPEC. What is full form of OPEC? Organization of the petroleum exporting countries oil embargo. The European Union was invited to attend in 1977. Russia joined in 1998. And its inclusion was meant as a single of cooperation between East and West after the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. However, Russia was thrown out in 2014, and when it invaded the Crimea. Okay, China was never a member. समझ गए? G7 को 1998 में रसिया ने ज्वाइन किया और 2014 में आफ्टर एनेक्सेशन ऑफ क्रीमिया इसको रिगाइन कर दिया, और चाइना कभी भी G7 का पार्ट नहीं रहा, यू नो ऑलरेडी. द रैपिड स्प्रेड ऑफ ग्लोबल फाइनेंस एंड ट्रेड after the victory of the Washington Consensus in 1991 created instabilities in developing countries. After the Asian financial crisis, the G20 was formed in 1999 with the aim of discussing policies in order to achieve international financial stability. Russia and China are members. Okay, Russia and China are members. Now Western nations want to throw Russia out of the G20. अब पश्चिमी देश रसिया को G20 से बाहर करना चाहते हैं. China has opposed them. China जिसका विरोध कर रहा है. India will be chair of the G20 from December 2022, और it will G19 then, और ये फिर G19 हो जाएगा. Meanwhile, India is being hectored by officials from the US and the UK, okay, to support their sanctions on Russia. समझ गए? बराबर USA और UK प्रेशर बना रहे हैं इंडिया पर कि उस रसिया का विरोध करे हमारे साथ. India has so far refused to be, okay, cowed down. Inequalities have only risen. The belief that unfettered flow of the finance and trade across national borders will lift people in all poor countries out of poverty and make the world flatter in terms of inequality has failed. Inequalities have increased within countries and amongst them too. Citizens are reacting everywhere. Even in democratic countries such as the United States of America. Demands are increasing for more socialism and less unbounded capitalism, because America is totally dominated by the capitalism policy. A strong leader who put the interests of their own countries first are gaining power through elections in Turkey, Hungary, Poland, Russia, and even India. Okay, Donald Trump had once to ऐसा एक बार कर चुके हैं. Free market capitalism is not, okay, is not ideologically compatible with a genuine democracy. Capitalist institutions are governed by the fundamental principle of property right. Decisions right in capitalist enterprises are allocated in proportion of the, okay, to property owned. Whereas genuine democracies are founded on the principle of equal human rights. It is important from here and noted from here. Okay, genuine democracies are founded on the principle of equal human rights. All Western electoral system in Britain, the United States, and Europe began centuries ago with the right to vote limited to property owners only. Universal adult franchise, wherein all humans have equal votes whether they are billionaires or paupers, is a more recent development in the West. In many Western countries, women and racial minorities were given even de jure equal voting rights only in the last century, and continue their struggle for de facto equality in their society. De facto मतलब real power के लिए संघर्ष बराबर कर रहे हैं. Social tensions, what are social tensions from here? सामाजिक तनाव यहाँ से क्या है? The rules of governance of capitalists and democratic institutions have as well been in tensions with the societies. Capitalist institutions want to unfettered by democratic regulations to make it easier to do business. Democratic institutions want to rein in the competitive animal spirit and red in tooth and claw capitalism to create a more compassionate capitalism that improves the world for everyone, not only for financial investors. The simultaneous imposition of free market and elections in countries liberated from communism or socialism by the United States has invariably increased inequalities and increased social tensions and sectarian conflict, which more elections cannot resolve democratically. This is the story of Iraq, Afghanistan. This is the story of Iraq, Afghanistan, Russia, and even Chile, also known as Chile. Okay, Chile is the country of Southern America, which was once the showcase of the Western model of liberal capitalism. When social tensions increase too much, elections often produce populist socialists such as Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, or capitalist autocrats such as Vladimir Putin, Russia. The West does not like either side when they stand up against the Washington-controlled North Atlantic Treaty hegemony of the world. Because North Atlantic Treaty, also known as North Atlantic Organization, also known as NATO, hegemony by United States of America. Though capitalist dictators such as Augusto Pinochet in Chile, and the monarchies of the Gulf West Asia kind their good friends. Even Chinese communists were tolerated so long as they were not a threat to US power. Redistribution of power. Power accumulates in societies by the principle of cumulative quiescence. Those who already have more power from greater wealth or more education believes their power to not only improve the rules of the game, ostensibly to improve the world for everyone, but also to ensure they remain in power. Redistribution of de facto power within a society must often precede the redistribution of asset of wealth and education that are the sources of power. Those who have power will resist losing it. That is the natural order. Violent internal revolutions and anti-colonial movement are the means of changing power equations, as are armed wars, even between rich countries in Europe. All violence must stop. All violence must stop. To prevent violence, it is essential that global governance become genuinely democratic. Countries must not attack each other, but they must be given the freedom to evolve their own democracies and economies and not to be dictated by others. The hypocrisy of undemocratic global dictators is in their financial power to impose sanctions, which are weapons of mass destruction that harm innovative civilians. To bring down their opponents must stop. Calling on a democratic country such as India to take their side must also end. Okay. Let's move to another article. Getting serious about supporting care economy. Care work is vital for economies in general, and India need to have a strategy and action plan for improved policies. Greater investment in care services can create an additional 300 million jobs globally, many of which will be for women. In turn, this will help increase female labor force participation and advance sustainable development goal, also known as SDG 8, which is to promote sustained, inclusive and sustainable economic growth, full and productive employment and decent work for all. Still unseen by policy. Why it is still unseen by policy? आज भी अनदेखा किया जा रहा है नीतियों के द्वारा. Every year 8 March or March 8 is celebrated as International Women's Day. You know already from here. Every year, 8 March is celebrated as International Women's Day. The immense contribution of women to all spheres of life is often overlooked, unfairly valued and hardly rewarded. This is particularly evident in care work, both paid and unpaid, which is crucial to the future of decent work. Care work encompasses direct activities such as feeding a baby or nursing an ill partner, and indirect care activities such as cooking and cleaning, whether paid or unpaid, direct or indirect. Care work is vital for human well-being and economies. Unpaid care work is linked to a labor market inequalities. It has to receive adequate attention in policy formulation. Paid care workers such as domestic workers and Anganwadi in India also struggle to assess rights and entitlements as workers. The importance of care work is now widely acknowledged and covered in various international commitments such as the Sustainable Development Goals and the International Labour Organization, which are found in 1999. Centenary declaration since March 2020, the demand for care services has skyrocketed. However, investment in the care economy has not matched the pace. This year, the commemorate International Women's Day, the ILO brought out its new report, titled Care at Work, investing in care leave and services for a more gender equal world of work. The International Labour Organization is the only tripartite UN agency which brings together government, employers. Second, repeating, the International Labour Organization is the only tripartite UN agency in the world which brings together government, employers and workers of 187 countries. It means approximately 187 countries are the member of the International Labour Organizations, which are a tripartite organization in nature and brings the employers, governments and the workers to set labor standards, develop policies and devise programs promoting decent work for all women and men. Benefits down the line. The report highlights the importance of maternity, paternity and social care leave, which help balance women's and men's work and family responsibilities throughout their lives. Furthermore, it demonstrates that workplaces that provide time, income, security, space for undertaking care services, such as breastfeeding, enable positive nutrition and health outcomes. Bridging the gaps in the current policies and services provisions to nurture child care and elderly care services will deliver the benefits of child development, aiding in dignity and independent living as that population grows older, and also generate more and better employment opportunities, especially for women. Maternity leave, child care. Maternity leave is a universal human and labor right. It should be noted from here. Maternity leave is a universal human and labor right, yet it remains unfulfilled across countries, leaving millions of workers with family responsibilities without adequate protection and support. India fares better than its peers in offering 26 weeks of maternity leave. Thus, the International Labour Organization maternity leave, of 14 weeks that exists in 120 countries. However, this coverage extends to only a tiny proportion of women's workers in formal employment in India, whereas 89% of the employed women are in informal employment as given by ILO site or the ILO central portal or labor statistics. This is the report. While paternity leave is recognized as an enabler for both mothers and fathers to better balance work and family responsibilities. It is not provided in many countries. It is not provided in many countries, including India. Okay, India has no provision regarding paternity holidays. Okay, globally the average paternity leave is 9 days. Globally, the average paternity leave is 9 days, which further, exacerbates inequality. Access to quality and affordable care services. Access to quality and affordable care services such as child care, elderly care and care for people within disabilities is a challenging workers with family responsibilities face globally. While India has a long history of mandating the provision of creches and factories and establishment, there is limited information on its actual implementation. There is scope for improvement in availability, accessibility and affordability and equality. Working conditions of care workers are another critical gap to address. Though child care and Anganwadi workers undertake important work and child care is recognized as professional work in advanced countries, they lack recognition as workers and do not have requisite access to workers' rights and entitlements in India. Domestic workers on whom Indian households are heavily reliant also face challenges in accessing decent work. They became ad hoc care workers during the novel coronavirus pandemic without adequate social or health protection measures. According to the government of 2019 estimates, 26 lakh of the 39 lakh democratic workers in India are female. While important development has extended formal coverage to domestic workers in India, such as the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention Prohibition and Redressal Act and Minimum Wage Schedule in many states, more efforts are required to resources ensure decent work for them, recognizing care workers and promoting decent work for all, including for domestic and child care workers are also necessary for India to achieve the sustainable development goals, which have a principle of leave no one behind. They, like all other workers, need to enjoy basic human and workers' rights and access fair wages. Fair wages. Enjoy a workplace free from violence and harassment, have good working conditions and access social protections among other benefits. Look at it as public good. India spends less than 1% of its total GDP on the care economy. You should be noted from here. India spends less than 1% of its GDP on the care economy. Increasing this percentage would unfurl a plethora of benefits for workers and overall economy. Therefore, in consultation with the employers and workers, organizations and the relevant stakeholders, the government needs to conceptualize a strategy and action plan for improved care policies, care services, provisions and decent working conditions for care workers. The International Labour Organization proposes a 5R framework for decent care work centered around achieving gender equality. The framework urges the recognition, reduction and redistribution of unpaid care work, promote rewarding care workers with more and decent work, and enable their representations in social dialogue and collective bargaining. Care and work should be viewed as a collective responsibility and public good. A human-centered and inclusive recovery from COVID-19 pandemic that benefits workers, employers and the government requires a more significant investment in and commitment to supporting the care economy, which cares for the society at a large. Society at a large. So this is the most important article from here. And let's move to another important article, the best chance for architecture. आर्किटेक्चर का शानदार चांस क्या है? National education policy is the best chance to set right architecture education. Recent documents give a sense of how the National Education Policy, also known as NEP, will play out in professional education. Architecture in particular is set for radical shift. Many architects hold the firm view that professional education should be left to professionals. They argue that practitioners can steer professional education better, as they now do through the Council of Architecture, also known as COA. The concerns appear valid, and the demanded that national education policy limit itself to the humanities, science, and the most, including engineering, seems persuasive. However, architects seem to overlook the historical reasons that bring them under national education policy and inadequacy of their current education model. An uninspiring approach is poor training, low employability of graduates, and a choking regulatory framework undermine the discipline. National education policy is the best chance to set the house right. Undergraduate education trains a student to practice. Hence, law, medicine, they are independent bodies looking after education. However, historically, architecture was clubbed with engineering as technical education and brought under the Education Ministry. It came under the purview of the All India Council for Technical Education, also known as AICTE, set up in 1945. By the time AICTE got its statutory footing in 1987, the Architect Act was enacted in 1972, and education came under the purview of an independent COA. However, this did not shift it to the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs, which include has been more professionally aligned, as law and medicine are with their respective nodal ministries. It is now moved to ask if architects can reset history. The question to ask is, how can national education policy bring progressive practices to architectural education? Changing the course. Recently, changing the course is dilemma for the Indian education system. 4 key national education policy recommendations can change the course. First, national education policy seeks a close connection between education and professions, and direct professional bodies such as the COA to set up standard and education will strive to meet. It means that though education commences in a campus, it will mature in practice. Second, undergraduate courses should be liberal, allowing students to be trained and to help identify their paths. Third, unlike the current model that trains only by professional apprentice, national education policy enables students to take either a practice or a research route. Research route. This is bound to pave the way for diverse programs and support research training. Fourth, autonomy will be granted to institutions, which will save them from shifting regulatory arrangements and the standardized program they pose, taking advantage of the proposal. First, a summary of issues facing architectural education, while design and engineering are 4-year undergraduate programs. Architecture is a 5-year program. The justification has been that a long and rigorous course is necessary, since institutions train professional ready students. The assumptions that longer the course, the better training is spurious. The regulations do not adequately support industry connections. Those who try incur heavy additional expenses. As a result, many colleges have an acute exposure only despite architectural practices scaling up and becoming multidisciplinary. Education offers less scope for diverse specializations and loss not equip students to solve complex design problems. National education policy mission to restructure undergraduate education as a 3-year liberal broad-based education bodies well for architecture. Shorter programs can build sufficient capacities to work as apprentice, industry field-based organization when combined with another 2 years of specialization and unequal number of years of work experiences. The student is better trained as a professional. Multiple entries and exit to programs also enhance flexibility. After 3 years, students with an aptitude for research can take another path. For all this to become a reality, institutions need autonomy. The word over professional bodies focus on professional standard and let academic institutions decide their creative ways to meet the objectives. National education policy promises that architecture institutions pack semesters with many subjects. They far exceed an average of 55 hours work week and deny for pursuit personal development. National education policy fixes this issue. It recommends a choice-based 20 credit per semester workload, creating better space for a student to explore. A challenge in recruiting industry experts to teach is that regulations insufficiently acknowledges them as valid teaching faculty and recommended more full-time academic staff to meet the faculty students ratio. By allowing 50% of the staff required to be filed by visiting faculty. Who are visiting faculty? This will be discussing later. National education policy enables more practitioners to teach. Advantages abound. But to convert them to transformative changes, national education policy has to keep its promise and architecture have to embrace chances. Embrace chances. What is text and context here? This is Pakistan regarding no important to us. Shape of things, 12 notes and issue musical copyright. Is not most a non-place. French anthropologist Marc Aguirre identifies no places as the temporary space that thrive under capitalism, which include holiday resorts, hotel chains, and supermarkets, as well as spaces such as refugees camps and torn down settlements that proliferate under inhuman conditions. No places homogenize identities or confer temporary identities. They exist in relation to specific ends such as transport and commerce. No places enforce a contractual nature on the association between space and the individual. As the word contemplates a return to pre-COVID-19 norms, the focus on those places has intensified. Their growing presence today provides an experience that is a rare combination of solidarity, individuality, and non-human meditation between individuals. Between individuals. So what is second article? On April 6, E.D. Sarin was a copyright infringement battle in UK High Court. High Court over his 2017 chart tapping Song Shape of You. August Grime. Copyright is a bundle of rights that gives the creator. What is copyright? Copyright is a bundle of rights that gives the creator exclusive economic rights for the reproduction. Noted from here. What is copyright? Copyright is a bundle of rights that gives the creator exclusive economic rights for the reproduction, distribution, broadcasting or adaptation of their work. समझ गए? ये पीछे मैं आपको बता चुका हूँ. What is condition of Pakistan? The National Assembly Secretariat of Pakistan has accepted nomination papers of the joint opposition candidates. Shehbaz Sharif that of PTI Shah Mahmood Qureshi. Voting is set to begin on Monday at 2 p.m. Now, ousted PM Imran Khan maintains that there is a regime change operation underway against him at the behest of the United States. The United States has categorically denied these claims. 174 votes were cast against Mr. Khan in a no confidence vote in the Assembly on April 10. Mr. Shehbaz Sharif and his son Hamza Sharif are due to appear before a special court on Monday in case of money laundering. Money laundering is equal to, black money into white money. Them by the federal authorities in 2019. Both he and his son had been arrested in the case and are now out on the bail. आज जेल बेल पे बाहर है. So these are the prominent article from here. Minor article देख लेते हैं. Language no bar. States speaking languages other than Hindi should be free to use English as link languages. Union Home Minister Amit Shah statement on making Hindi the language of communication for people of non-Hindi speaking areas or states was absolutely unnecessary. As the chairman of the Parliamentary Official Language Committee, he is duty bound to promote the spread of Hindi languages. But the impression his speech generated at the 37th meeting of the panel in New Delhi last week is that he wanted to impose the language. Calling for the use of an Indian language among people who spoke languages other than Hindi, Mr. Shah said Hindi should be acceptable as an alternative to English and not to local language. It is up to the people of any two nations, any two non-Hindi speaking areas or states to decide what their language of communication should be. If they are comfortable with the English, which is also a global language, already noted from here. If they are comfortable with the English, which is also a global language, the center has no business in advising them to adaptation English and take any other language or Hindi, as done in this case. Mr. Shah observations, presuppose the opposition that English is not an Indian language. What he seems to have overlooked is that English has been recognized as an Indian language as much Tamil or Telugu or Hindi have. This recognition is also due to Sahitya Akademi, a central institution working for liberty dialogue in the country. The academy under the control of the Ministry of Culture has, among others, been giving away annual awards for the best work of English, of course authorized by Indians. Besides the advantage English gives to India has to be kept in mind, as pointed out by the President of the Karnataka Pradesh Congress Committee, D.K. Sivakumar. Bengaluru became the India's IT capital because of English. Bengaluru is known as Silicon City of the country and also known as IT City of the country. It would be fighting for a person holding the office of Union Home Minister to shed any aversion to English, which has been a unifying force in a vast and diverse society such as India. Because of India is a vast and diverse society in the world. Expectedly, Mr. Shah's statement has been condemned politically, especially by the non-BJP opposition parties. Even the AIADMK party that has been friendly to BJP has issued a statement through its coordinator and former Chief Minister O. Pannirselvam, who expressed his approval of any move to impose Hindi. But most significantly, it is Tamil Nadu Chief Minister M.K. Stalin who rightly lashed out at Mr. Shah for seeking to create single identity, which Mr. Stalin has pointed out. Will not create unity. It is okay. Nobody cast that the Indian language. Okay, let alone Hindi should be not be nurtured and promoted. They all diverse the support of the state. Those in power should follow up their words and substantive measures towards its direction. But at the same time, no room should be given for any perception that the promotion drive will be the cost of English. Respect for multiculturalism and a pluralistic identity is a equality that the political class, particularly those in power, should imbibe. Mr. Shah would do very well if demonstrate through words and actions that he has that quality in abundance. Okay, these are the minor article from here. Without curbing inflation, the RBI will not be able to promote sustainable growth. What is most important from here? Okay, the Reserve Bank of India Monetary Policy Committee has rather belatedly acknowledges that its primary remit is, after all, to ensure price stability. Addressing the media on Friday after announcing the MPC first monetary policy review of the new fiscal year, Reserve Bank of India Governor Shaktikant Das was emphatic in stating that in the sequence of priorities, we have now put inflation before growth. More than 3 years after prioritized growth over price stability in February 2019 and before the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Reserve Bank of India has pivoted back to putting the horse of the before cart. Best reflected in the central bank on works on monetary policy goals. Price stability is a necessary precondition to sustainable growth. That it has taken the outbreak of war in Europe with its accompanying commodity price surge to remain in the RBI of the imperative centrally of price stability is a solitary reminder that monetary policy makers can ill afford to be the complacent it comes to inflation. Less than 2 months after its rather projected inflation to average 4.5 in fiscal year. Okay. To be sure, Russia's invasion of Ukraine was still 2 weeks in the future. The last time of the Reserve Bank of India rate-setting panel finalized in its policy review. And the price of crude oil, Mr. Shaktikant Das cited as the key factors that had necessitated the revision of the inflation projection and pivot, had already been on the boil since December. In fact, the this center on the MPC on the issue of the policy stance in February, Jayanta Verma. Okay. Central banks have a choice: either accept higher inflation for some time or be prepared to be accountable for destroying demand. With the Reserve Bank of India, our quarterly projections for inflation now presaging the possibility of a policy failure by way of 3 consecutive quarters of inflation over the 6% upper bound. Policy makers have clearly realized any further delay in changing tack would risk leaving the economy with neither growth nor price stability. Language no war. समझ गए? So these are the important articles from here. These are the important articles from here from today's Hindu newspaper analysis. Okay, today's Hindu newspaper analysis. So thanks for watching. This concludes for the discussion. Thanks for watching.